Okay, so I'm gonna try and make a remake of this video, talking about the symbolisms in this. And I'm gonna first start with, so this was September 2021. I had said how there were 3 pictures over several years' time that I saw that got me, that had hit my spirit in a way that I was to take note and I was to search out what this stuff means. And one of them was this. So this is 2021. The other one was this. When I went to check my email, this picture had come up. And this is a Hindu goddess. She is Kali, Kali. She is a convergence of the god Shiva and his wife Parvati. They two come together to create Kali. And at first, when I saw this nurse, I was like, that's not a traditional nurse. Nurses wear white. And they had her in blue for a reason, because they wanted to associate her with Kali. And in the background, in the shadows, you can see a crown. You can see the trident. You can see what looks like a sword because of the handle there. This thing, I'm not sure exactly what it is. It's like some kind of, it looks like a purse, but it's attached to this long, like, rod. So I don't know if it's like a snare, somehow to a catch. But behind her, the shadow is not her shadow. It is Shiva, because Shiva is the god that's part of her. And then we see what appears to be the relation to Islam. And in my last video that I was talking about how they, through their name, they associate it with both branches of the Muslim. Anyway, this picture, and then another one, and this picture. It started here when I first saw this. It was in 2020. I don't remember where I ran across it. Probably when I was checking my email, it came up, the Yahoo page. So this picture was in 2020. This was in 2024. And the chandelier one was in 2021. So I'm going to start with underneath the picture of her chandelier. It talks about how many of each one of these she used. But the 271 and the 10 are with reason. It's with purpose that they put those there. Because the symbol for light in Hebrew is Aleph Vav Resh. And if you look at one of my other videos, I talk about the difference between skin and light. You know, I was talking about Adam and Eve, and when they took from the serpent from the tree, the serpent on the pole, which is a symbol that we see today, something that the people are leaning upon. When they leaned upon the serpent on the tree. They lost their light, and God had to put skin on them, and the difference between those two. You can go back and watch that if you want. Okay, so back to this. 271 and 10. They did that on purpose, because when you take 10 from 271, you get 261. And in Hebrew, the symbol for light is Aleph, Vav, Resh. Aleph is 1, Vav is 6, Resh is 200. You add them together, you get 261. And this, I learned this from watching Trey Smith, one of his videos. I don't remember which video, but I remember this part where he says light, the Aleph, Vav, Resh. What this says is God coming through, because Aleph is God, coming through the man, the connector between heaven and earth, and operating through the mind of man, a God man. This was God's original design. God being able to, through the connector, operating through the mind of man here on earth. And that's what the priesthood design was all about. Adam was an original king priest. The Vav is the only symbol that connects heaven to earth. Man connects the two with and in through the light of the light of God, through Ayin, and that's a different story. Anyway, so I just wanted to show how they specifically put those numbers in there, because this is what it's all about. The light of man, depending on leaning upon the serpent in the garden. And this is also in this article through names. But I want to go back to the 271. 271 is a sexy prime because it forms a pair with 277, and their difference is 6. And what sexy primes are in mathematics, the term sexy prime comes from sex, the Latin word for 6, describing any two prime numbers, that are separated by a gap of 6 units are a sexy prime. The reason I bring that up is because during Nimrod's time, and there's going to be a Nimrod 2 in the final days. Nimrod, he built the Tower of Babel, but he built a one-world religion. It was Nimrodism. He did away with God. He built a statue, all this stuff. But anyway, he was king of all the earth, and he ruled. But anyway, he had a financial system. His financial system was a sexagesmal system, where everything was calculated in 600s, 60s, sixes. And in the end, what would happen? The same thing. Anyway, I'm going to start back with I focused on her name, and I don't know if it's in this article. I have 2 different articles with this person in it. In this one, it has her first and last name, but I think it's the other one that it has her full name, where they put I know it's in here. Okay. Total strangers invited Laura England Weiss to their weddings. So that's her full name. And I looked it up. I looked up her name. Okay. Laura is Laurel, the tree. It's also Apollo and Daphne. England is a hook, or it causes one to bend. Weiss is a bright complexion, clever, wood, and battle. So we see the tree. We see the what we see here is the Garden of Eden. But anyway, so I'm going to go over the names. Weiss originates from Germany. Its roots meaning white, describing someone with pale skin, hair, bright complexion. It can also be a nickname for someone considered wise. The habitational name for places come from Germanic names related to battle or wood. And that's important. Man is as the tree of the field. And when God talks about the enemy and not coming into covenant with the enemy, that we are to break down their altars, burn their altars, and burn down their groves. There's a reason for that. Wood is a symbol of sinful man as well. It's a common name found across Europe. And the Americas, often as a translation of Slavic names like Balak. And I found that interesting. So it's clever. Who else was clever? Who else was clever on a tree? Okay, and then I looked up meanings and origin, and the patronymic is less common. It's from short forms of the ancient Germanic names with the elements like wig, battle, or widow, wood. But this goes back to Odin, because I think it was 2024, there was a piece of SpaceX that fell. It was called the Trunk of the Dragon, and it fell in Michael Wooten's yard. And when I studied his last name, Wooten, it led me to this. And farther back, it was associated with Odin. So, her first name, how it relates to a tree. Laura comes from the Latin word laurus, meaning laurel or bay laurel tree, symbolizing victory, honor, triumph. In ancient Greco-Roman culture, as laurel wreaths crowned victors. So the saying goes, crowned with laurels. If you look back in history books, you'll see during Greco-Roman times that you could see pictures of men with these leaves around their head, and that's what it is. They're crowns from the laurel tree, and it means victory and triumph and honor over those that you want to subject, right? So in Google Latin laurus, the etymology of it, there was cultural significance where Laurus is deeply linked with Apollo. In Greek mythology, the nymph Daphne is transformed into the tree and was used for laurel wreaths. And I'm going to bring up a picture for that. Actually, I'm going to just bring up what I found so people know that I'm not making this stuff up. You can pause it and look at it yourself. Bay laurel tree. But I'm going to find the laurel tree. Okay, so how Apollo and Daphne are connected. So there was this goddess, or I'll read the story from my notes, and how she turns into a tree. Okay, she calls for help because she doesn't want Apollo. Apollo wants her. She calls out to the gods to save me from Apollo's advances. And so to save her, they turn her into a tree. They turn her into a laurel tree. And there she's frozen, but she's safe from Apollo's advances. And so I'll just read the story behind it. Okay, the mythic legacy. In ancient Greek myth, Apollo falls in love with Daphne, a beautiful nymph, who, unfortunately for him, has no interest in her immortal pursuer. Daphne, which is the ancient modern Greek name for bay laurel, sends pleas to the gods to protect her from Apollo's unwanted advances. Upon hearing her request, they transformed Daphne into a bay laurel tree. Apollo mourned Daphne's transformation. O fairest of maidens, you are lost to me, but at least you shall be my tree. With my leaves, my victors shall wreathe their brows. You shall have your part in all my triumphs. Apollo and his laurel shall be joined together wherever songs are sung and stories told. So throughout history, there was an association between Apollo and Daphne, which is the bay laurel tree, the laurel tree. So there is a connection between her and Apollo. And we know who Apollo is because if you're into symbology, there's many that have pointed out someone who likes stuff of Apollo. Many articles and different things have said that he is Apollo. Anyway, so I did the definition of Apollo, the etymology, and that kind of stuff. Greek root Apollyon means to destroy, to kill, to ruin. The meaning is the destroyer. And we see in Revelation 9:11 that the Hebrew Abaddon, meaning destruction, is given its Greek equivalent Apollyon as the name of the king of the locusts from the abyss. Okay, etymology of Apollo. So there's a story about Apollo where he has a role in plagues, but that he also has the remedy of plagues. So the etymology of Apollo is debated, with suggestions linking it to the Greek word like Apollyon, Apollomy, to destroy, fitting his plague role, Apella, assembly, for his civic role. But it just comes down to destruction. Okay. When I was studying England I think most people know angles and the history of the angles and stuff like that. But when Germanic tribes invaded and settled in Great Britain, but it's from this word that looks like angel, not angle. It's an angel with an N, and I just found that interesting. And based on its shape, shape of the land, they say it's hook, or to bend, to cause to bend, to hook. And that's where I got for England, to bend or to hook. To bend would be like kneeling. I'm gonna find some. So I went over the last name, the middle or the previous last name, and how her first name is the laurel bay tree, and how it's connected to Apollo. I was trying to see if there was. So that's the I can't even think. In the museum, Daphne and Apollo, the sculpture. I'm going to see if I can find anything else that I might want to include, or I'll just stop here. I'll just bring for up to etymology of the angle for English, England. Anyway, you can look that up if you want. I guess I'm going to stop here because I know it's getting quite long. But this video just connects with other videos that I've made on symbology and that kind of stuff.